In a Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vlad Zhirinovsky. I'm a president and CEO of Kraner. And with us today is my dear friend, Carl Nelson. Side note, and I'm very proud of it, Carl played for the New York Giants when they won the Super Bowl in 1986. And today, Carl and I actually have a pleasure of working together. There you go. That's his ring. And Carl and I have a pleasure of working together. We oversee some 401k plans and investment management relationships. So the reason I brought Carl on today was because with recent CARES Act, with the pandemic and the environment that we're in today, our government made certain provisions available for your 401k plans and IRA plans that I feel, Carl being the expert in this particular field, would be absolutely tremendous to share them with you. So without any further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Carl. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for joining today. The CARES Act, basically, as it relates to retirement plans, allows you to take money out of your plan without having to pay the normal 10% penalty. There are obviously certain limitations to that. First of all, the government gets very specific. They say, well, you had to have had COVID-19, or family member have COVID-19, or been directly affected financially by it through either a layoff, furlough, reduced hours. But at the end of it, they just say, well, if you check a box and say, yeah, it affected you, it affected you. So, I mean, in theory, you will have to prove that you were financially affected by the COVID-19, but they're not going to become checking that real hard. But so out of a 401k IRA, you can take up to $100,000 out. They are not going to withhold the normal 20% withholding tax on that. So if you apply for up to 100, you'll get the full 100. You will not have to pay the 10% penalty on that distribution. And you have up to 3 years to pay it back into the 401k or the IRA. It has to go back into the vehicle that you took it out of, and you have to be able to prove that it went back in there. If you do that, once again, you're not going to be, if you pay it back in that 3-year period, they're not going to withhold the 20%. You don't owe the 10% penalty. Sounds like a great idea. Hey, I get my hands on money. People always want to get their hands on money. It's not such a great idea for a couple of reasons. Number one, you take it out when the markets are down. And you're probably going to be putting it in when the market's going to be up, because I know Vlad, I've spoken with him a lot, and I believe in year, 2 years, 3 years, we're going to be higher than we were before all this started.
Right.
So if you're going to put it in later, just realize you're locking in a loss. So be very careful with that. You have up to 3 years to pay it back. You will get a 1099, a special 1099 at the end of the year that you took money out and that you took it out as a COVID distribution, which will give you that 3-year leniency on paying it back. But realize you will, if you don't pay it back, you are going to owe tax, and they haven't withheld any taxes on it. You're going to have to come up with the full amount, and it's going to be added on top of any income you have in the year that you're claiming it. So if in 2 or 3 years your income's back up where it was or higher, and all of a sudden you're tacking on another $100,000, all of that full $100,000 is going to be taxed at your highest marginal tax rate. So once again, that's another thing to be really careful of if you're not going to be able to pay it back if you're just taking it out. Another provision of the plan. I'm sorry, go ahead, Vlad.
You bring up very good points. I mean, of course, in today's particular environment, there are many people who unfortunately have lost their jobs and getting by. And yes, the mortgage companies are able to work with you to defer some of the payments. Same thing with leasing companies and auto loans. But, at the end of the day, we still need groceries. You can't go to a store and do an IOU at Wegmans or ShopRite or alike. So Carl's absolutely correct. We caution you, don't look at it as you piggy bank. Absolutely look at this as a last resort if you need some money to hold you over. Clearly, don't take out more than you need. We do encourage you to have a budget and create a budget where you know how much money you could possibly rely on. And if you can take up to 100,000, don't go and take it out, right? Because you will have to pay it back. And if you don't, then the penalties and fees will kick in at the end. Another thing that I wanted to ask Carl was this. For Individuals who might not be taking the money out, what can you recommend, especially in today's environment with the stock market still being down about 12% from the top? What are you recommending for people to do with their 401k and IRA accounts now?
Well, if you can, you want to fund them early in the year, which I think is, a good, if you have the cash flow to do it, if you are still making money, if you're in a good financial position, speed up your 401k contributions. If you normally put in, 6%, maybe put in 12% now. You still want to make sure that any matching contribution you get from the company, you spread that amount out over the full year to make sure that you get it. Meaning, if your company matches up to the first 6%, and that's why you've been doing 6%, if you put 12% in now and then don't contribute at the end of the year because you put this extra 6% in for a while now, you're going to lose that matching contribution. So factor that in there as well. But if there's no matching contributions, or if you're putting in more than, if you're putting in up to the max, if for the whole year you can do the matching contribution max, and then you're going to put in more on top of that, front load that in the next couple of months, and I think that will benefit you. One other aspect of the on the 401k side, which is not available on the IRA, is that you can borrow up to $100,000 from your 401k. Normally the limits are $50,000 up to 50% of your vested balance. Now you can borrow up to $100,000 up to 100% of your vested balance. You've got to pay it back, but you won't pay it. You can defer paying it back for up to a year to start the deferral payments back into it as a loan. And if you have any existing 401k loans, the loan will not go into default for lack of repayment for the next 6 months. But you need to notify your employer that you want to do that. Okay, so notify your employer if you have an existing loan. Hey, I want to defer payments. Interest will continue to accrue. And when you do start back working and start paying that loan back, they will re-amortize the loan to figure out what your new loan payments are going to be. But it is going to be accruing interest the whole time that you're not making the payment. So there are a few things there. I think if you absolutely need the money, I think you're better off doing it as a hardship withdrawal rather than as a loan, because it gives you some more flexibility as far as the paybacks go.
Very good. Very good. I think these are very important, very powerful points for you to be aware that, there are financial professionals that do this every single day. Both of our contact information will be at the end of this video. I was looking at the form that we actually have put together for you to utilize as a guide. So if any of you need to take a look at it, please feel free to reach out to Carl and myself. And like I said, the contact information will be there. And
one more very important point. Also, and I know if you were going to get in this or not, but the required minimum distributions, RMDs, are waived for the year 2020.
Great point.
So if you are required to take an RMD out of any of your IRA accounts, 401k accounts, 403b, 457, whatever, you don't have to do it this year. And the reason for that is the government didn't want to make you take money out when the market's down. Okay, that's the sole reason that they did that, because the government wants their money, they want their taxes. You take money out of a retirement account, they get tax money. They like that. But they didn't want to force people to take money out in a down year, to force them to take it out at a bad time. So for 2020, there's no RMDs required. You can still take money out, and you'll still pay ordinary tax on it as if nothing was going on. But if you don't want to take it out, you don't have to.
Excellent. That is a very powerful, very good point, Carl. You're right. But at the trough of this year, the market was down 40%, and if you have to take money on top of it, that will definitely reduce your nest egg pretty substantially. We were glad that the market has come back, and we've talked about it many times. The market will turn, and the market has turned prior to coronavirus being gone and done. But, I don't claim myself to be a doctor. Any viral infection that we have had in this country, and we've had many of them in the past 7 years alone, this will also be gone, and we'll just look at it as a pretty scary nightmare. We do believe that the economy will rebound pretty quickly. after all of this is over, because we went into this in no time. I mean, we're talking about unemployment within 2 weeks of the country being shut down. Our unemployment numbers skyrocketed. Well, similarly, as we start to open things up and go back to whatever the new norm is going to be, it will be different, definitely. But this is not like 2008 meltdown when the whole system melted down. There was no money available to do anything. You know, there's still plenty of people who are employed, who are the only money they're spending on is groceries. And there are plenty of small businesses who are still sustaining themselves. And yes, even after having to let go people, but our government made money available. You know, there's a paycheck protection program that was available. There's yesterday there was an additional $470,000 billion package that became available. Many families are beginning to receive that $1,200 or $2,400 for spouses, and $500 per child. And yes, many of you have given me pushback to say that's not enough money. You're right. In New Jersey, it's not, but in Midwest, it is. And if you're sitting and you're just waiting for this to be over, this is at least something to hold you over. Anyway, Carl, any last thoughts?
Your retirement plans are very important to you, even though it looks like a quick, way to get money if you need it. And listen, if you need it, do it, but do everything else you can not touch your retirement money, because it is called retirement money for a reason. It is there for your retirement. If you use it now, you're not going to have it then.
Very good point. Carl, thank you for joining us today. And as always, please, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our offices and we'll be able to assist you. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for allowing us to play an important role in your success. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, everybody.